Hello, hello. It's Manifestation Monday. All right, okay. Lumiere, we are reading the last chapter in Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting, chapter 12, called 30 Days to a Breakthrough, in which she talks about her 30-day trial run. But okay, Lumiere, what were you saying?
Well, in the last chapter, I felt like she was wagging her privilege around, and I felt a little bit perturbed by it. And that happens here at, in small spots. She was wishing for a second house near a lake, which, you know, I think you're good if you are that close to a second house near the lake. But the lists of do's and don'ts are, I think, valuable. And the early, see if I can find it, the early start of the first three things you do: identify what you don't want, identify what you do want, find the feeling place of your want, expect, listen, and allow the universe to deliver. Those three things are four things I think are really important um, things to think about if you're trying to manifest. Then the do's and don'ts are great, I think.
We're
Uh,
gonna do a whole episode on do's and don'ts next week.
Oh,
let's
that's a great idea. Let's do that. Yeah.
let's do.
Yeah, and Lumiere, what you're talking about, those four things, those are her official four steps. So this is her method. And then this particular chapter is she's saying do an experiment where you commit to trying this out for 30 days, this other mini method that leads up to those four steps, right?
Yeah, yeah. Have you done that? Uh,
Well, I haven't done her exact method here, but I have been manifesting for way more than 30 days. But yeah, like let's outline her method here. She's saying if you get into a negative thought form of any kind, you do a flip switch where you rapidly alter to the negative energy to a positive. And she says you make a list of things that are positive about yourself and you flip the switch to that. But then later in the chapter, she says that she does a manifestation of the month and she flips to that, which I like, because it takes a little time to manifest something, so but so it's like if
yeah,
we go into a negative feeling, you're like, oh no, I'm manifesting a bead store.
right.
That's it. That's it. Or whatever
Yeah,
you're manifesting.
yeah. I have started thinking about how I'm going to practice that. So I like the switch flip thing. I don't know how long it will take me to learn that.
Well, let me ask you guys this. She says that we are addicted to negative emotion. Do you agree with that? Because the reason to do this 30-day thing is she says that humans are addicted to negative emotions.
Yeah, I would have to disagree with that. I would not say that it's necessarily an addiction, but I think it's like what the yogis say is like you have 1,000 thoughts a second or something like the like lotus petal with 1,000 lotus flower with 1,000 petals. Like you're just sitting there popping off thoughts. Like we all have like a internal sportscaster in our head, like doing a play-by-play of like every single thing that comes through. And I think what it is we have a lot of practice of like grabbing on to some of those thoughts. And what we need to do, according to like meditation principles or mindfulness principles, is like let them go, let them go. And what she's saying is, particularly if you notice one's a negative one, definitely let it go. And so her technique is not to, and then, be calm and try to keep your mind blank until the next thing pops in your head. She's like, forcibly have one ready that you then start focusing on that one instead.
Right, right. That seems to me to be important too, to have one set to go. And
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
good about yourself was another part of that too. Thinking good thoughts about yourself, like uh, my thumbs are good looking, that sort of thing. Just to keep. I do not snore very much. Just things to keep in mind with that
Yeah.
switch flip thing.
Well, it's interesting. I've been having like what you would call intrusive thoughts the last few days. My mind does all kinds of things. So like I have kind of a mental illness, right? It's like so it's like my mind's been doing intrusive thoughts where it's not even like the thought, but I'm like, what if I had that thought? And like a weird thought comes in, and I'm just like just thinking about having the thought, right? But I like this where it's like, and then today I was like, wait, I'm gonna get rid of that thought and put this new problem to solve in front of my mind. And I was like, oh, what should I talk about on this episode? Or like I started and it actually worked. And I think this is a form of that where it's like if we have thoughts we don't like, look at them and expunge them, but then have this thing ready, like you guys are saying,
Right.
is something that I think I didn't have when my intrusive thought came in today. I didn't have like, okay, anytime a thought happens I don't like, I'm gonna think about my bead store that I'm manifesting. Like, but that would be that's a cool exercise to just handle any thought you do. It's like mind control. It's like cleanse and purge and focus is kind of like how that looks.
Yeah. And the process of trying to pick a thing important to you, to have that thing ready on your mental shelf. Pull out, like, what is that thing that's most important to you? But you're going to put all of your eggs in that one little basket for a time.
You guys like
And
the
they're
idea of
twelve
having
dollars a
one
piece now.
what?
And they're $12 a piece now.
Well, do you guys like the idea of having one per month?
Uh, I do like the idea of having like some set thing that you don't have to try to remember what your thing was. And I agree with what you just said earlier and what she says in the book that like things take a while to manifest. So it's good to kind of perseverate on one for a while.
Hmm.
I gotta say, like, I've been kind of accidentally doing this for a bit because of two things. One, when I had been, reading all the Neville Goddard things about feeling the wish fulfilled and stuff like that, and then the Emil Coué stuff about like every day in every way things are getting better and better and how you're supposed to do this specifically when you're at that hypnagogic borderline state between sleep and wakefulness.
Hmm.
So I've been intent, and I have also was like trying to intentionally get good sleep, and I've been tracking my sleep with that app and stuff. So all of these come together in that whenever I wake up, like in the middle of the night or between dreams, dream states as in a night's sleep. And this comes from, I was also reading this book about like Tibetan dream yoga of like trying to change my dream or trying not to have negative thoughts in the dream or trying to like, when I realize I'm dreaming and then be playful about it but I've also was trying to if I had an anxiety or like based dream event or content, I was replacing it with these chakra affirmations that my friend had taught me. And there's like one for each chakra, and I learned them. There are seven of them, one for each in order, and I was trying to memorize them. I know this is a really long story, and I'll end it real soon.
Okay.
But
I'm
We have
I would.
enjoying it.
45 more minutes.
I'm enjoying it because I'm not having to insert anything in my mind. I'm just totally enraptured in your story.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anytime I realized that I was having a negative thing while I was in a hypnagogic state, I would practice remembering my seven chakra affirmations.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
You
cool.
have That is very cool. Do you have that much control over your dream?
I do now. I've been practicing. Yeah.
Wow.
I like the idea of rapid altering from negative to positive, and I think the thing about this, in an earlier chapter she says if you think for 16 seconds about a negative thing, you start manifesting it or something like some crazy number like that. Well, like I think. having a rapid turnaround because you have this thing ready to think about whenever you have a negative thought. It really, she says you could learn to live without worry or learn to live without some degree of concern, which is like I like the idea of having something ready so we don't even have a chance to hang in negativity. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
cool. I think that's one of the most valuable things in this chapter.
Yeah.
And it's not something you hear anywhere else, or I haven't heard it anyway, anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. So much of manifestation is literally mind control. It's like thinking about what you're thinking about and choosing what to think about. And this chapter really shows us how to just do quick mind control, just like no thanks on that thought. Bam.
Yeah. And envisioning it too. In one of her dues, I think it says something about be in that spot. I'm not going to be able to find it, but um, let your energy be in that spot. Uh, not just thinking, like we said before, not just thinking, I want a cucumber flavored lollipop, but to imagine yourself eating it is the difference. And she says that in one of the dues too. And
She says that we're busy creating our own utopia. What is a utopia?
well, I think largely people's fantasies are their utopia. I think they have a utopian ideal in their fantasies, but they don't actually, and I'm maybe talking about myself, but other people I know, they don't actually imagine utopia. They think utopia is a fantasy we can't quite have.
So it says an imagined place or state of things in which everything is perfect.
Yeah.
So she's saying as soon as you have a negative thought, go to a perfect thought. Well, and the Greeks actually had this name for this, the Fantasia realm, and they say that we get the word fantasy from Fantasia, but it's spelled with a PH in Greek, so it's like way more like Fantasia, whatever. But the thing is, they would say in the Fantasia realm, everything is perfect. Like you can imagine a perfect cube in the Fantasia realm, but can you really make a perfect cube on Earth? Like, I think we can nowadays, but like the idea is like things are perfect only in the imagination. Utopia only exists in the Fantasia realm. Because, like if we imagine a bead store and like all these people are buying beads, but like in reality, I sell like 3 beads a year or something like that. But the utopian ideal of a bead store is also a real thing. It's just a mental thing. It doesn't, but I like to dance with the difference between the fantasy version of a thing and the real version of it. Like I learned that concept in Greek and it's like so I stopped trying for the perfect thing to manifest down on earth. I was like, "Oh, I see. You imagine the perfect thing and then you watch what happens and then you enjoy them both, right?" Like I feel like we can enjoy both.
Oh yeah, that's a great point, isn't that?
Yeah.
Like you can't expect perfection to happen and then be disappointed when it doesn't, right? Because that kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
Well, you can because I know lots of people who are like that. That whatever you may not even know that what they imagined was something quite different, but whatever's going on is not quite good enough.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah,
So they may have had the perfect thing in their heads, and then the actualization of it made it less than perfect.
yeah, it's interesting. Like people wonder why I never tried for perfection on any of my art things. I was like, oh, we're not trying for perfection. We're on Earth, right? Because I learned that lesson. But it's like it's really weird in art. You can get like close to perfection. Like let's say like the Metallica albums, like the drum parts that are recorded on the album are all like perfect double bass drum pedal, this and that. And then I saw Metallica in person, and Lars Ulrich playing the drums can't even play those drum beats. He like those are machine made drum beats on the album. Like there's perfection on the album, but the real life, Lars Ulrich doesn't play those, so I feel like as an artist, you could be chasing perfection your whole life and then never release anything. But it's perfection is a contrived thing. It's like I don't know. This could be a whole episode on like what is perfect.
It's something I think to people for people to strive toward if that's what they want, but not hope that they can get it because I don't know what it is really, and I don't want it either. I don't want perfection. Perfection is like industrialization to me.
Interesting. You know what wabi sabi art is, right?
No,
Wabi sabi art is like art of imperfection. Like I always say I'm a wabi sabi artist and like wabi sabi art is all messed up and like for example, I'm a crusty punk. Like a crusty punk, pants have like dental floss sewn patches on them and like that's the beauty of crust art is like it's wabi sabi. It's like the imperfection of it is what's beautiful. But like
yeah,
I love wabi sabi. It's amazing. Wouldn't it be interesting to imagine the perfect wabi sabi?
Well, I think there can't be perfection. You cannot imagine perfection because you only have your perspective, or you can't create of perfection because you only have your perspective, right? And
right.
like from other angles, it you haven't imagined a complete omniscient view of like every single bit of circumstance in which this thing is made manifest and is
Yeah,
perfect from all perspectives.
and it our the three of us, I would say, our conception of perfection is imperfection. So for us, imperfection is perfection.
Okay, I have a band name for you, Jay-Z. It's it's Panoptical Perfection.
Synaptical perfection.
You know what the panopticon is?
No,
It's the place where you're looked at from all sides. Like, because he's saying, like, you can never make something that's perfect in the eyes of every man. Like, everyone has a different chart, right? Everyone's looking at. That's why, like, art is a Rorschach. Like, you make your piece of art, and then everyone gets to have their way with it. Like, that's how
yeah,
we teach our artists to work. But basically, I love panoptical perfection because it would be like perfection in the eyes of everyone at once.
Yeah,
that would
that's
be great. You could start a band, Jay Z, and then change the name every week. We would come up with new names for you, and
excellent.
you would get new gigs based on the name.
That's great. And then the band could open for itself
That's right. That's right.
under a different
You
name.
can turn around real fast and say, "Here we are, new band." That would be great.
I like this sense where she says, I'm talking about the freedom to exist as we desire, the freedom to acquire, the freedom to prosper, and the freedom to excel. Like, what do you think about this? The freedom to acquire. Like that is
Well,
still manifestation. Good.
I mean that I want to talk to her about that. I mean, what does that mean to her? But she wants a second house on the lake, so that I don't know that that's freedom or capitalism.
Jay-Z has two houses.
I know, I know. I'm sorry. Uh,
That's in his chart to have two houses. He has a very housey chart.
really? That's
Yeah, his
great.
chart
Well,
builds and deals with houses. I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
For all the
absolutely.
houses,
astrologers, he has a Moon Jupiter conjunction in Cancer in the fourth house. That is the most home building chart ever.
two houses. Wow, it's like the Montagues and the Capulets.
It's interesting, Alexander. I was listening to a sermon yesterday and they were talking about prosperity. And that's what she's talking about is like prosperity. But in the sermon, they were talking about how it's not about monetary prosperity, it's about spiritual prosperity. Like, how do you feel about that?
I do feel about that. Feel that's great. If she's talking about that, then wonderful. I mean, but when I hear the word acquire, I think soft merger or a collection of antique cars or that kind of thing. But I like the idea of prosperity in the heart. It's great, or prosperity in your head.
Hmm.
I feel prosperous. Like when I'm full of ideas, I feel prosperous.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, like they were connoting the word prosperity with flourishing. And I love like the idea of flourishing as a human. And I think manifestation theory does help with that. Like you don't just sit there statically being like, okay. You're just like, well, I want this and I want this and I'm gonna flourish, you know?
You're
Yeah,
thinking about, yeah,
I think when we're talking about prosperity too, as if we're still talking about astrology, then like you can have prosperity in any one of the 12 houses. You know, you can have prosperity in relationship, you can have prosperity in community, you can have prosperity in houses. You know, like, and it's different ones for different charts. I agree.
Well, like when I read Think and Grow Rich, I only got two chapters in because I was like, wait a second, I don't want to be rich. Think and Grow Rich with friends. I want tons of friends. Like, and that was like how I rewrote the book in my mind, you know, because I was like, whatever with this money thing. But yeah, I mean, I do actually acquire a lot of money. Sorry, I said that. But it's by being really nice and kind to humans. Like I do it all. I don't seek to acquire money first, but I happen to acquire money being nice. I don't know.
that's great.
Sorry
Yeah.
I acquired something, Alexander.
I I'll try to be nice. See if I acquire money. I would
Yeah.
love to have money.
Yeah, I don't think it's a
No, no,
zero sum game. I don't think because one person has money, it means that other people don't necessarily. I mean, I think that that might happen in certain circumstances, and those are the ones that maybe you're imagining. But I don't think
right.
that happens in all circumstances.
Well, it's like Fern always says abundance is a human right. Like we should all have abundance.
No, I agree, and that's socialism. So I agree, and Fern is right, but and she can watch this and hear us say that she's right.
Well, like this episode is not acquiring me any money, but I still am giving of my time because I love you guys. And like, I think it depends on, like in the sermon yesterday, they're saying your time, they were saying your resources are of God, basically, and also your time is of God. Like when you give away your time, that's like letting God like run through you. And I was just like, oh, I'm so down with that, you know? I don't think I'm a capitalist because I don't do things solely for money. I do whatever my soul wants, feels drawn to do, and then monetize which parts of that would make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know that you're a capitalist either. I I would like to find a way to monetize what doing what I want, but really, all I just want enough money so that I don't have to think about money.
Yeah.
That's all I really want.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there's a number for that. It's like $74,000. That's what they say. That's what research shows.
A year?
Yeah, I think it's like once you have that much, then you don't think about like whether you need more or something like that. I don't know. It's a number.
Well, that's a
Yeah,
good goal.
it's that then you're not it doesn't cause more happiness in your life. But actually the number went up.
Oh, dang it.
Because of
Yeah.
eggs. Well,
Well, I want to know about this. She says our need for emotional pain to feel alive or even for mild discomfort is the greatest addiction ever known to mankind. I really want to go back to this. Are we addicted to pain and suffering? Jay-Z is not. According to Jay-Z, he is not. I don't think I am either. I think I'm a problem solver. Like when I'm in pain, I'm just like, yeah, no thanks. Let's solve that problem. Bam! Bye. Bye, Felicia. I don't think
bye,
I'm a negative person.
Felicia.
Dude, I'm not a person who perseverates on problems. I'm not a problem perseverator.
I I don't think I'm a person that wants to be negative. I let problems consume me sometimes, as if I have no control over.
Hmm.
I don't have the whatever you have gumption to say I'm done with that.
Well, there's some problems I have perilously, chased for like 8 years. Like the problem of racism in astrology really bothered me for like 8 straight years. Like, I mean, there are some problems that are not solved in just, but like, did I sit around negatively thinking about it? No, I think I sat around positively trying to find solutions. Like, I mean, I don't know. I think some charts are more negative than others. Jay-Z, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
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 Some charts
So
are,
if that's the case, can that change?
Well, that's why we employ astrological remediation. I mean, there's a textbook on it, you know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
we have to read the textbook to help people with it. But like, yeah, some charts, like if I was being literal for the astrologers out here, like Mercury Saturn conjunctions can be kind of like negative perseverators, or like a Mercury Pluto might be kind of intense, or like a Moon Pluto Saturn conjunction. Like there's some personality characteristics that are really brooding and kind of intense.
So if a Mercury Pluto person tries this, what we're talking about, these do's, and the flip switch, all that, can they change that?
I think so. I mean, I think these are remedies. These are remediations for somebody who has those tendencies. Like I think you don't have to be a negative Nancy to use these things, but if you are on the negative side of things, you just would kind of make a lifestyle of turning those things positive. Like you would have to acknowledge that personality characteristic of yourself and then work to change it.
Yeah, and if it was like a Mercury Saturn thing, for example, then like you could use the Saturn part to be like, oh, and now I have a structure and framework for which to communicate my wants instead of feeling oppressed that I never get them.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this on my list of remedies for kind of depressive type people. I'm gonna definitely use this chapter of this book.
I think that in all the manifestation texts that we've used so far, um, what you want is paramount.
What
They
would
all
you
seem to
what?
lean toward just thinking about the thing you want,
Oh,
the way you want to be, the thing you want to have, the feeling you want to have, and not ever think about the thing that has happened that you don't want.
yeah,
So I don't think anybody could go wrong with that.
it's true. Like if you're not a negative person and you employ these techniques, you'll be even more positive and even more successful. And if you are kind of a negative person, then you'll turn around into a just a more palatable person. Like so, yeah,
Yeah, you'll be more fun at parties.
yeah,
Expect
totally.
your wants, she says. Expect them.
But
And that, I think, if you're a negative person and you teach yourself to expect your wants, first of all, you identify your wants and then you expect your wants. It's got to change you.
Jay-Z.
well, I guess unless the extremely negative person would self-select themselves out of even trying this approach or learning about it or something, you know? I
Yeah.
don't I don't know if I
Yes.
do or believe that.
Maybe God
Yes.
makes
I don't know that you could convince. What's that?
I don't know if God makes certain people to be kind of negative for a reason. Like maybe they're the boundary, maybe they're the police officers of the world or something.
Well, that's
Not that
nothing's
police
than
officers have to
talk.
be negative, but I'm just saying maybe they're the boundary bringers. You know what I mean?
Are they necessary? Is negativity necessary in the world to balance positivity?
Oh,
Otherwise, it would just be like the Hallmark Channel every day.
yeah. I
Yeah,
don't think it's necessary. I think we could just be toxically positive. Um,
toxically positive. That's a
um,
band name right there.
yeah, that's a thing. God, I was going to say something. No, I mean,
Toxically
I don't
positive.
know. I don't know. So
Well, negative thoughts need to exist so that you can replace them with positive ones.
I
Sure.
was always thinking about my intrusive thoughts. I was like, why would God give me an intrusive thought? I was like, maybe it's to spur me on like wholeheartedly towards a positive thought. Because I was just like, not doing that thought. Oh, I'm gonna do this thought. And like if I didn't have the intrusive thought, maybe it wouldn't have like stoked my fire so much on the positive thought.
It
Yeah.
helped you know what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's the same, like I think it has to exist. And just like when people are saying about like judgment, well, like judgment has to exist. You have to like look and see you see a bus screaming down the street and you have to judge not to step out in front of it. Like,
Right.
like you need negativity in order to keep your body safe so that you can keep living,
Yeah.
but not to perseverate on it.
Well, it's like, yeah, what we are saying in the Course in Miracles is let the problem be solved. It's like, notice there's a problem. Like, I might get hit by a bus if I step out. Okay, okay, solve that problem by not stepping out. All right, now back to my positive thoughts. It's like,
Yeah.
the, like in astrology, we look at Saturn thoughts and things as rooting the psyche. It's like it's the root that keeps us safe. It's, and Saturn thoughts are like, oh no on this, oh no on this. They make you pucker. Like that's what Saturn said. The flavor of Saturn is supposed to be like where you eat something in pucker. But I think anytime we think something in pucker, that's a safety thought. But that's not a growth thought. Jupiter thoughts, make us grow, like Jupiter, and then there's Saturn. Like so you root in the realism of those like thoughts that keep you safe, and then you go ahead and grow forth with positive thoughts on top of that, maybe. So okay, so I want to know what you guys think about this. She says that um when you change to a higher vibration, it changes the body's chemical makeup. She says, we now know that swings come from the body's acclimating itself to prolonged periods of higher vibrations, which in turn cause a dramatic change in the body's chemical makeup.
Yeah, I also wrote that down in my notes. We now know that, yeah, and like emotion is chemically induced, negative and physical, and feeling is positive and etheric. I'm like, where'd you come up with that? And how do we
Well,
all that?
could we could we just cite one thing, please? One peer-reviewed study? Sure.
Emotion is chemically induced? What does she even mean by that?
What does she mean?
Well, do you guys think that if you go into a higher vibration way of living, it changes you ultimately chemically or something like does it, because I think she kind of mentions that you can get sick on the pathway to becoming higher vibration. Like, what do you guys think of that? Like you're
I think she was
sickening.
making it up.
What? She's
I
making it
think
up.
yeah, I think she made
Yeah,
that part up.
I think so. I think so too.
Yeah. I
But
don't think you have to get sick becoming a better person. I think that's a choice.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know. Maybe if you're in a bad transit and you up your manifestation under that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It depends on the person.
yeah, I think it depends on the person, what they're capable of learning about themselves.
Well, so this reminds me of another part that I wrote a note about, which is like, can you decide to just change without it being a painful process? Like, can you not have to go through the like struggling process and just be like, I'm not gonna do that anymore or whatever? Like, I think so. I think that like, you know, you don't have to sit there and practice meditation for 20 years to become enlightened. You can just like, why can't you be the one that suddenly gets enlightened? Like, why can't you be the one case, like, rare but it exists. Somebody's that rare but exists case of like, spontaneously like changing without having to have a painful process. Like, I don't think that
Makes me think
suffering
of
is
some of the
necessary.
people I know who have changed genders and just been stoked. You know what I mean? Like where they're just like, yeah, a transition. What the it's like it doesn't have to be like this. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I hope that wasn't offensive. I just feel like you could do anything you want with a great mind frame if you wanted to, right? Like you could just be like, no, no thanks on that being upsetting. No thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to be enlightened in 20 minutes, or at all. But being enlightened sounds great, but I think you have to focus on that too. I mean, Jay-Z, I would say you're enlightened. You're an enlightened person. So did it take you more than 20 minutes?
I read this thing called by an author called Paul Smith called A Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment. Takes you 20 minutes. You can read it too. You'll be enlightened.
I Paul Smith.
Real?
What's that?
Are you for real?
Yeah, for real. Paul Smith, A Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment.
Oh
He
my,
distills like non-duality and enlightenment into like this real short thing.
we should do an episode on that. Yeah, that's cool. Well, I
I'm
think
going to check it
it's like
out.
a choice, right? Like you can choose to struggle or you can choose to be effortless. I mean, like in some ways, like I think, you know, I don't know. I don't know. This is where it's like we don't want to be Pollyannas, but I don't know. You can kind of choose if you want it to be a thing.
Well, I think we all, whatever thing you're talking about, whether it's enlightenment or not eating rocky road at 3 in the morning, you can change it. You can stop and say, "This is what I want. I want to stop doing this shit." And I think that we have that capability. I believe we all have that capability. And
Yeah,
then
good.
there's a distraction like, well, I just want a little bit while I'm watching this tractor pull show. The next thing you know, a half gallon is gone.
Well, no, that makes me think of quitting drinking because I quit drinking. That's another transition people go through, and it's like, did I suffer through that or did I joyfully quit drinking? Like, I think it was a process, but I don't think it made me sick, but it definitely was a process. I mean, this is a process. It takes 30 days to like up your manifestation to 30 days of good manifestation, but that doesn't mean that you have to get sick of it. I think you just have to approach it with a positive mental attitude. PMA on that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I
No,
think we
in
had
fact,
a good
I
time
hadn't
getting
seen you for a
sober.
while, and you had been drinking the last time I saw you, and then I saw you after you stopped drinking, and I got over the I don't have a buddy to drink with thing, and then I you were energized.
Oh yeah.
You were a little high on it and feeling very good about the future because of it, and it did not it wasn't anything but joy.
Yeah. I'm interested in this thing. She says the down days had no specific focus of don't wants or stress, just basic doldrums. And it made me think about doldrums. Like, how do we manifest out of doldrums? Like, because I had a doldrum the other day where I was like, oh my God, I'm so bored. Oh. And then I was just like, no, I'm not bored. Don't even be bored. Clean your room.
Do
Like,
you
I don't
believe
know.
it when you say no, I'm not bored? I
Yeah,
mean, do you
I'm a
believe it?
manifester, so I mind controlled myself out of that shit. I was like, yeah, no thanks on that. And I'd already worked it out in my manifestation journal where I looked at 10 antonyms for bored. And I was like, I had written all these sentences. I was like, I am highly enthused with, and then I like wrote a list of everything I do. And there was like 10 antonyms to boredom. So it's like, I'm engrossed with like, Manifestation Monday. I'm highly enthused by Manifestation Monday. I'm highly enthused. Like, so I'd already written it out in my journal to give myself a bunch of sentences that fight boredom. So I think I just switched to one of those.
Yeah, I think that is her technique too, right? Is the switch flipping or flip switching or whatever.
Whatever it's called.
And yeah, and yeah, I like that she's whew, excuse me, that she specifies like this is a technique and be ready to re with a replacement thought. I
Yeah.
really like that. Because I do think that no matter what, you do get moments of like self-doubt or remembering the like the ways in which the thing that you want is going to be difficult to actually happen, you know?
It's like remembering the fear of boredom is kind of what the doldrums are for me at this point since I've manifested out of boredom. It's just like, oh, I had a thought where I might accept boredom into my mind. Oh, yeah, but I know what to do already. Like Yeah, I think I did a flip switch there, but I hadn't read this chapter, so I didn't know about flip switching. But from now on, I'm going to flip switch.
Yeah, that seems like a really great idea. That part of this chapter, the flip switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had the same thing Lumiere, after our Course in Miracles thing where we were talking with Linda and she was talking about, so kind of narrowed it down to the word intimacy. And I'm like, oh yeah, intimacy. That's actually really more than I want. Like I want a boyfriend, but more it's like because I want intimacy. And then it was like the next day. Oh, which is today? I don't know. I was really thinking like, or maybe it was, yeah, last night or something. I was like, oh, how's that ever gonna happen? Like, and then I've like now narrowed in on like the lacking thing. Now it's like the lacking thing isn't having a boyfriend. The lacking thing is lacking intimacy.
Ah,
And
Oh, yeah.
but I was having that feeling of like, oh, how's that ever gonna happen? I mean, I'll practice intimacy with my friends, I'll practice with Bud, but it's kind of not the same. But
okay.
yeah, so it's nice to have the like ready to go substitute.
I think so too. I think that's really valuable. And it's also that thing, we see
Oh,
there's
Andy's
intimacy.
holding me. Thanks. That's what I was thinking. Like, I want someone to cuddle.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna smash you so hard.
Uh,
This is the Jay-Z
I
doll,
want that too.
Alexander. This is the Jay-Z doll.
That's
See,
the Jay-Z doll. I saw it before. Yeah, I saw him before.
here, I'll
But
pat you on the butt. Here.
Thanks, Andy.
it's your
Dude,
intimacy for the day.
look, I put
yeah.
But
your head on my bosom.
Well,
I'll be
thanks.
right over. Um,
Does this work at all?
No.
Yeah.
Ow!
I just slapped you in the face and poked your eyes out.
Oh, dang,
Uppercut.
I'm gonna go get the Andy doll in a second. You better
this
watch it.
these have turned into voodoo dolls all of a sudden. Where are the pins?
Uh,
Yeah,
That was some roughhousing. That's a
oh
form of
yeah.
intimacy.
Yes, that's
it
true.
is.
Now I'm
You
rocking you.
know,
He's
unless
autistic,
it's
so
in
I'm
an
rocking
alley.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
anyway.
no, intimacy is, you have to think about. It's one of those things you have to think about it. You can't think, well, uh, I, I wish I had a person for intimacy and use the word. You have to think about what that means, like holding hands while watching Saw 5.
Yeah. Well, the thing I do appreciate of having kind of pinpointed this is it is easy slash possible to sit and meditate on the feeling of what intimacy feels like to me, and to be able to like do that first step of imagining the wish fulfilled, which I do have faith will help make it manifest in, this reality.
I
Yeah,
think you
because
should
you're
purchase it.
sending it out there, right?
I think you should purchase it.
Purchase intimacy.
Yeah, just manifest it. Just go buy some.
Go buy your
Get a
intimacy.
massage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can do that.
That's my nice way of saying hire a Chippendale.
Yeah.
Hire a Chippendale. I don't know that hiring intimacy is really the thing.
Why?
Hire your intimate. I don't want to hire my intimacy.
With an IGH, with an IGH. Hire your intimacy.
With a
Higher.
Hire,
Make it higher.
oh
hire.
man.
Anyway, I'm just saying, if you were a real manifestor, you'd purchase it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm half kidding.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, because that's not the same. I mean, I have experienced like, somebody else not really feeling like if the other person actually I can't say I've experienced it, but like if the other person isn't into it, then it ruins it for me.
Right.
You want
So
voluntary intimacy. It's like you want somebody to want you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I want consensual and
Reciprocal.
mutual
Mutual.
reciprocal intimacy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's kind of an easy thing to spot early on, but you don't want to get to 2 years down the road and then find out they don't like intimacy.
So what's your flip switch on that next time you're like, oh, I'm never gonna have intimacy? Like, what's your flip switch?
Oh, well, I can always go back to the chakra recitation because that really does make me feel better. And specifically like the second chakra, which is for me, I deserve love, happiness, and joy. Like that, just saying that and reminding myself that makes me feel better. I don't know,
Hmm.
like that sounds weird, but it does.
Hmm.
Hmm. So these are seven, right?
Yeah.
Would you send them to me so I could look them over if they're not too private?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. Those ones that I specifically picked out with the help of my friend who's a chakra healer.
Hmm.
So what do you
Yeah, I'd
guys
love to
think
see them.
about? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
But you know how it's a cliche, but you know how if you buy a Ford Maverick after never having had a Ford Maverick or a Pinto, let's go back to something dangerous, a Pinto, and then you suddenly start seeing Pintos everywhere.
Hmm.
I think this is the same idea. It's not that there are Pintos everywhere where there weren't Pintos everywhere, but what you're doing is focusing on seeing the Pintos everywhere. And I think that's what we're trying to do now in some strange way. If we want intimacy, we're trying to see the intimacies around us and then maybe find one we like more than the others. But I think it's this book and manifestation theory in general seems to me to be a little bit about that focus on something, and that something will show up more because you're looking to see it.
It does clarify for me that you really don't want a long distance because you want physical intimacy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, and the what you were saying before, the other thing that it now allows me to do, having like what would I flip into if I start feeling bad about it or whatever, is to be grateful that now that I've understand it, I can sit here and do a practice session of like conjuring up the feeling that I want to have. And then knowing that the better I can conjure up that feeling, it won't make me feel like I lack it, but what it will make me feel like is like that positive because I know that being able to conjure up the feeling will send out the vibrations to make it happen.
Hmm. If I was there right now, I would smash you. I'd land you. I'd
We could
just be like,
cuddle and
"Oh, are
watch
we?" I'd be like, "Oh, are we doing intimacy?" And I would just lay right on you with my back to you, so as not to break any boundaries.
we could
I'm just so into making it happen that I'm just like, I can't wait for someone to show up. We gotta handle this right now.
Well, I'm
He's
looking
just like,
forward.
sorry, that's not the point. I know you want a boyfriend, and I'm a girl. I'm a girl. Ooh. My 28th degree, I can lay you on you in my 28th degree, and that's a boy. My 28th degree. Anyway, all right. I'm like messing with your manifestations. Okay. All right. Well, what do you guys think about this? This is a good like last concept, which is she says it's doubtful that you'll ever again be able to feel even a twinge of negative emotion without knowing that you've just closed the door to all the things you've ever wanted in life. Like, do you think after this we'll ever be able to have a negative emotion without being like, oh my God, flip switch? Like, are we just like done with negative emotions?
I don't know, done might be strong, but I could see where we could, with certain practice, if the three of us practice, we could get to a spot where we have far less negative emotion.
Well, I think in some ways, like once you learn something, you can't unlearn it.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think any one of us could sit and dwell in negative emotions without realizing like that we were doing it and it probably wasn't gonna get us any good results.
Yeah,
Right? I
yeah,
mean,
uh,
Yeah.
I don't think
yeah.
we
I
can
don't think we could
unlearn
have.
that.
Yeah, we might have a negative emotion, but that's not going to. We won't let it sit with us very long. If your lover walks up to you and says your breath could gag a maggot, it will hurt you for a minute. But then with this practice, you won't let it stay there. You'll find some way out of it.
I think
I don't think just Listerine.
you're the king of one-liners like on your show. Like you say some of the best one-line. You're like such a verbal artist. It's so cool. I love working with you.
I like I like language,
Yeah. Well,
but we wouldn't let that overwhelm us. We would just say, okay, yeah, sure, fine, okay. What am I going to do with this?
yeah. I'm curious to see how this pans out because I think I know how to turn it around. Like I sometimes have to sit with my journal for a second and be like, all right, what am I gonna do with this negative thing that's, because if my boyfriend said my breath was horrible, I would actually probably be sad for more than a minute. Um, but I think I would know to get out of that. Like I would say, I would know that I can't just dwell there and make have good energy, you know. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know, but I am actively going to practice all of this week, what we've talked about so far. Where do you want to start next week?
Do's and don'ts list.
The major, okay, I'm looking at the major don'ts right now.
We're gonna
There are
do
a
a
lot
whole
more don'ts
episode.
in her book than I thought she would have.
She what?
I didn't think she would have as many don'ts.
There's a
I
lot of
thought
don'ts.
she would focus more on the do's, but
I
that's a good
want
place
to
to start.
I want to start next week with the trip report of how the experiment is going for you, Lumiere.
I will take notes,
Nice.
or you will hear me scream. Either one.
Excellent.
All right. Well, don't forget about interim intimacy. That's a new band name.
It is a new band.
Interim intimacy.
They all come out hugging each other.
That's when you like foster a dog or something.
Foster a dog. That sounds painful.
You are such a problem solver, Andy,
You
and
are such a
lots of
problem solver.
ideas.
You should open a booth, Problem solved. 25 cents.
Problem solved with band name memes.
Nice.
That's right. That's a great booth. Problem solved and name means $5.25.
All right, you
Excellent.
guys. I love ya.
All right. Bye. Love
See
you.
you next week.
Bye.